special guest of honor, our keynote speakers, and all ladies and gentlemen. You have been gracious enough to be joining us this afternoon. A very warm good afternoon to all. On behalf of Mechanical Engineering Department, Delhi Technical University, I, Soumya Shrey, welcome you all to an interactive session on engineering education perspective, organized by Mechanical Engineering Department, the Center for Advanced Studies and Research in Automotive Engineering, CASRE, and IMechE D2 chapter. Thank you very much for joining us here. As this is an inaugural session, we would begin by welcoming our esteemed dignitaries on stage who have joined us here. I am highly honored and delighted to welcome our distinguished guest and keynote speaker for today, Professor Avtar Kao from University of South Florida, USA, and receiver of US Professor of the Year in 2012. I request Mr. Deepak Kumar to kindly honor him with a bouquet and a small token of gratitude. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? A very warm welcome, sir. Can we once again have a huge round of applause for Mr. Professor Avtar Kao? Thank you, sir. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome Professor Madhusudanan Singh, Registrar DTU, for gracing us with his presence on the stage, sir. May I please request Mr. Subhash Dwivedi to please honor him with a bouquet on the stage. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you. I feel honored to welcome Professor S. Indu, Dean, Student Welfare, to this session. A very warm welcome, ma'am. May I please request Mr. Farhan Khan to present him with a bouquet. A very warm welcome, ma'am. Thank you. I take this opportunity and feel honored to welcome Dr. Naveen Kumar, Head Center for Advanced Studies and Research in Automotive Engineering, CASRE, and Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, DTU, to please present, and I request Mr. Vaibhav Kumar to please welcome him on the stage. A very warm welcome, sir. With equal pleasure and honor, I welcome Professor Rajiv Chaudhary, Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, DTU, to this session. A very warm welcome, sir. I request Mr. Arko Sardar to please welcome him for the session today. Thank you for such an auspicious start to our program. Can we once again have a huge round of applause for all our dignified guests on the dais, please? Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, our former president, once quoted, "When children are encouraged to express themselves and take risks in creating art, they develop a sense of innovation that will help produce the kind of people the society need to take it forward." But the question is, are we heading forward in the right direction? To pave the way for sweeping changes in schools and higher education sectors, the Government of India approved the National Education Policy 2020. The country is gearing up for a paradigm shift from quantity to quality in the education system and promises to bring about major reforms for both primary and higher education. The idea is to make education application-based and skill-oriented. One looks back with appreciation to the brilliant teacher, but with gratitude to those who have touched our human feelings. We need to bridge the gap in setting the goal of education as transfer of knowledge to facilitating the young minds to analyze, create, and self-express themselves along with the learning process. We want to create innovators, leaders, and renowned scholars, and this calls for reflection and much-needed reform. This calls for the need to better understand the engineering education perspectives. This session has been organized keeping in line with envisioning the future we all aspire for. I hope you are inspired and encouraged to think differently and take your career to your next milestone. Thank you, and I wish each one of you a very fruitful and enriching session. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to call Professor Naveen Kumar, Head Center for Advanced Studies and Research in Automotive Engineering, CASRE, and Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, DTU, to please give the welcoming remarks for the opening ceremony. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Professor, Professor Kao, Professor Madhusudan Singh, Professor S. Indu, Professor Rajiv Chaudhary, my distinguished colleagues, friends from other institutions, students from DTU as well as other institutions, very good afternoon to each and everyone present in this hall. And it's a matter of privilege for Delhi Technological University to welcome Professor Avatar Kao, who is a personal friend, I must say, with all my interaction in last 10 years. And I have the liberty to travel him any time when he come to India, even on a personal visit. So this was his personal visit, and somehow I asked him to come to you and deliver a talk. And many of you might have attended his webinar on 11th of April, and it was a huge success, and more than 500 participants were there in the webinar. And you see, he's a class apart, all I can say. And when we were having the workshop the last week, if you remember, many of you have asked that you should never miss Professor Kao lecture, because he's such a wonderful orator. And thank you so much for coming to DTU, sir. We welcome you, and we take, in fact, deep privilege in welcoming you, and let us hope that you will bless us in future as well. I welcome Professor Madhusudan Singh, the registrar, and in fact, I must tell you, I rang him up on Sunday, because my program is Professor Kao was finalized on Sunday only. So I informed Professor Madhusudan Singh that, look, we are going to have a program on Wednesday, and he was very kind that he said that just send me an email and we will do it everything. So is Professor Indu to provide us everything, whatever was required to receive a guest of Professor Kao stature. And in fact, I'm also grateful to all my young friends who has been with me in last 26 years at Dolly College of Engineering, and these people are amazing. I must tell you that just assign them tasks, they will do whatever they wish. They will do. And with zero mistake, I have seen. So with these all words, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you on the campus of Delhi Technological University, and I thank you so much. And probably the session which we are going to discuss, or we are going to have the deliberation, they will be in line with the NEP 2020, as Soumya has already mentioned. And I will request you to please ask as many as questions to Professor Kao. He would be very delighted to reply, because he's a wonderful orator. I have visited US of myself, and I have attended few of his lectures. He's a wonderful teacher, all I can say. So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you so much once again. I welcome you, and let us see we have a positive impact on each one of us by word of wisdom of Professor Kao. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I would like to take this opportunity to invite our special guest of honor, Professor Madhusudan Singh, Registrar DTU, to share a few words.
Very good afternoon to all of you. The guest of the day, Professor Avatar Kao from University of Florida. The organizer of this program, Professor Naveen Kumar, my colleague, Professor Rajiv Chaudhary, Professor S. Sindhu, Madam Professor Naveen Kumar, my colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to welcome Professor Kao for visiting Delhi Technological University. We all are delighted, sir, to receive you in our campus. Just to refresh your memory, hope everybody knows we are 82-year-old institutions established long back, 1941 at Delhi Polytechnic, and then 2009 it was renamed as Delhi Technological University. Prior to that it was Delhi College of Engineering. So we have a long history of success, huge reservoir of alumni, and I am happy to know that even our one of the renowned alumni, Professor Yogi Goswami, is with you. He is a regular visitor to DTU and has offered many projects, many startup support in DTU. So that way we are already connected with Florida, but this visit will certainly help us to widen that horizon. And we are really grateful to you and University of Florida for signing an MOU with us in the past, and that we are going to renew again. Ladies and gentlemen, the talk of the topic is very interesting. You all know that engineering education is a major education in our country. And in the last few decades, you have seen that perhaps engineering was one of the fastest growing education in the country. But suddenly in the last 5-6 years, you could have seen that this rising graph is now starting declining. I think the reason will be several. Some of the aspects, hope Professor Kao may also like to suggest, not in Indian perspective, but globally. I have come to know that even abroad also the interest of graduates in engineering is slowly declining. People are more motivated to go for non-engineering courses. So it's a very interesting topic to deliberate, in fact, and I hope the experience of Professor Kao will benefit all of us. Not only undergraduate education, if you see even in higher education, especially master and PhD, especially in our country, the interest is declining. The number of students coming in, especially core area of engineering, are reducing. And perhaps the few new areas have been evolved, like machine learning, IoTs, and data science, and all these courses are getting popularity. A few days back, I was just going through an article, and somebody said that these buzzwords like machine learning and these all may not be for a very long time in market. And the importance of core engineering cannot be ignored, because in core engineering, there is nothing which will become absolute. Core is core. It's fundamental. So without fundamental, we can't go. These machine learning, IoT, all these new buzzwords, maybe few new example to the core engineering. So perhaps that may be one reason, but that may be an individual opinion I can cite. There are many other aspects I hope Professor Kao will be able to tell you. And I am really grateful to Professor Naveen Kumar for organizing this program, creating this opportunity for all of us that we will be able to learn something from Professor Kao. We are really very happy, sir, to receive you in our campus, and we would like that this visit continue in future also. We'll have more interaction in coming days. So with this, once again, I thank you all for joining this program, especially those who have come from other institutions and participating in this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It is my absolute honor to invite Professor S. Indu, Dean Student Welfare, to grace us with her words and address this session. Welcome, ma'am.
Good afternoon to all. Our distinguished speaker, Professor Athar Ko, Registrar, Delhi Technological University, Professor Madhusudan Singh, Coordinator of the program, Professor Naveen Kumar, and Co-Coordinator of the program, Professor Rajiv Chaudhary, and Mrs. Professor Naveen Kumar, and all other faculty members and students inside and outside DTU. I welcome you all to this program. And see, now we are seeing that the new education policy is changing the way we are looking into the curriculum. And I am delighted to know that the courseware numerical methods which is being floated by Professor Ko, receives around 10 lakh reviews, 10 lakh views, and 20 lakh views in YouTube lectures. This is something really great. And I was discussing with him, and he said that he has curated the course in a very different way so that students will get interested in knowing things. So such kind of things are not going on in institutions in India, in many of the institutions in India. So this will be very much helpful for us. His talk will be really helpful for us for making such course contents, and the way we are looking into the curriculum can be modified according to his thoughts. So we are really grateful to you, sir, for coming here and helping us to do such things. And thank you once again for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for gracing us with your words. Once again, on behalf of Mechanical Engineering Department, I welcome you all to this session. Integrity, insight, and inclusiveness are the three essential qualities of a good leader. This quote best describes our today's keynote speaker, Professor Avtar Kao. Professor Avtar Kao is currently a professor in Mechanical Engineering Department, University of South Florida, USA, and receiver of US Professor Award 2012. Can we have a huge round of applause for our dignified speaker? He received his BE honors in Mechanical Engineering for BITS Pilani, India in 1981, MS in 1984, PhD in 1987, both in Engineering Mechanics from Clemson University, South Carolina, USA. His interests are in education and research methods, open courseware development, flipped and adaptive learning, fracture mechanics, composite materials, and the state and future of higher education. His courseware on numerical methods annually receives 1 million plus page views, 2 million plus views on the YouTube lectures, and 90,000 plus visitors to the Numerical Methods Guy blog. Now I request you, sir, to please enlighten us with your words. Can we have you on the stage, sir, please? Can we once again have a huge round of applause for Professor Avtar Kao?
Thank you for a warm welcome. I think that's quite a welcome. In US, you get 2 minutes and then you got to get started. When I was talking to Professor Kumar about what I should speak about today, he said that maybe you should talk about engineering education in 2050. So I thought that nobody knows what's going to happen in 2050. But then when I look around and say that, hey, we're still teaching the courses the same way as they taught in 1976 when I went to Pilani. So in so many years, about 46 years, nothing has changed. So maybe in 2050, we'll be doing the same thing as we're doing today. But before I get started, I want to thank Registrar Professor Singh, Dean Professor Indu, Professor Chaudhary, and of course, my good friend, Professor Kumar, for inviting me. Keep in mind that Professor Kumar is very persistent. Since you have all worked with him, you know him better than me. He is very persistent in appealing to your service orientation. So I believe that I am service oriented, and so is Dr. Kumar. So once he appeals to that, you cannot say no to him. So here I am, unprepared to give you a lecture on things which I know about, but not in any kind of formal fashion. So I apologize in advance if things turn out to be a little bit incoherent. So when Professor Kumar said that, hey, let's talk about 2050, I said, hey, it reminded me of a Hindi song. I don't know whether you guys are old enough to remember that. Zindagi ka safar hai, what is it called? Zindagi ka ek safar hai, suhana. Kal kya hoga kisko pata hai, or something like that, right? Kal kya hoga kisne jana, right? That's it. So that's what it is, guys. Please don't think that, hey, you have your future charted out, that you're going to go to some company, you're going to work for them for 50 years, you're going to get married, have 2 kids, have grandkids, retire in Goa or someplace like that, or Coimbatore or Mangalore, nice places like that. Things change from day to day. So be open to change. That's the biggest challenge which you will face in education. In olden days, that was not true. Whether it was here in India or the United States, people worked for IBM for 40 years, they knew they'd be there for 40 years. But that's not the case here at all. Professor Singh also alluded to, when he was talking about the machine learning, artificial intelligence, they have become sort of buzzwords, which is true, and everybody is gravitating towards them. Everybody wants to be a data scientist just because they know a little bit of Python, a little bit of R, or a little bit of Excel, or whatever it might be using for artificial intelligence. But the thing is that those are basically only things which are going to help engineering. So I give an example. So I work in the field of adaptive learning. So adaptive learning is where the student is going to be given exercises to do, or whatever video lectures or textbook content which might be presented to him or her will be presented based on what they know. If they are struggling with something, they will get more practice in it. If they are well versed in it, they will just breeze through it. And that's all dependent on machine learning. We are not using our own platform because my background is mechanical engineering, but we are using a commercial platform called Realize-It to do that. But we had to develop all the lessons and curate it and put all the questions in there, because that's not what the platform does. The platform is only there. Just like when you use Microsoft Word, nobody's going to write your resume for it. It's just a platform to write your resume. And we are looking at the data and seeing that, hey, what helps the student to become a better learner in terms of how they're interacting with this adaptive learning platform for some reason. And we are finding some very strange things which are happening, that how students are interacting with the adaptive platform lessons to see that, hey, that are they learning as much? So for example, in the adaptive learning platform, they get as many tries as they want. So there's no pass-fail as such till they are happy with what the grade is. But these are all only used for formative assessment, meaning the formative assessment means there's like homework which you get, not the tests and final exams which you take in a course. But what we found out is that people who are not good learners, what they do is they will just go and keep on repeating the lesson endlessly. They won't take the time to look at the video lectures, take time to look at the textbook content, and simply go directly to the questions, and let me just go for the jugular, as they call it, and answer the questions. They answer one or two, then they go back to it, and they're spending more time than the people who are going through it sequentially and trying to get through it. So those habits are extremely important to learn, that, hey, if I have to learn something new, how am I going to learn something? Because you're not going to, whenever you're going to go to your work, your boss is not going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a course about it, and then I'm going to tell you do problem 5.1 from the chapter 5, and that's what's going to be your next assignment. So you'll have to learn on your own, and what that means is that you will have to develop those skills of learning on their own. And this brings me to the very important topic, which is happening throughout the world, about multitasking, guys. And I see that students who are successful in their personal as well as professional lives, they try to decrease their social media presence as well as Netflix streaming and things like that to a bare minimum. I'm guilty myself. I watch Netflix, I'm watching a movie with my spouse, and she's right there watching it direct. She's not doing anything else. While I'm on my phone, looking at, seeing that, hey, what kind of likes I've gotten on my Twitter account, and maybe some more subscribers for my YouTube channel. She doesn't say anything because she knows better that, hey, not to say anything because I'm a fool, so she doesn't have to declare me a fool again. So these are the kind of things which I observed that, hey, what happened? So that I asked her, what happened to the movie? She said, it's right in front of you, go ahead and rewind and see the movie again. So I'm hoping that you will not develop this obsession with social media. It's good to have it. So please don't think that, a lot of people will tell you that, hey, I'm going on a diet, so kuch nahi khayega. I'm not going to eat anything. Or I'm going to do exercise 24 hours a day. Those extremes don't work. As a young person, you always want to look for extremes because you want to be deliberate about it. But I found out that in my old age that I shouldn't have done extreme things to be able to most probably get to that level which I wanted to. So I'm hoping that you will develop those skills where you will be able to self-manage the amount of social media and streaming content you are consuming. So many things have changed over the 46 years since I went to Pilani. I sometimes think that I might have ended up in Delhi College of Engineering because I did get admission here, but I went 200 kilometers away to Pilani here. And I'm glad that I didn't come to Delhi College of Engineering, not because I wouldn't have got a good education, but I would have done a lot of Velagiri. The reason why I done Velagiri because I love movies. And I would have gone from one movie theater to another and most probably not even graduated from this college. So, so these are the kind of things which I'm telling you. That these are all things which happen by chance. Because my friends were going to Pilani, so I went to Pilani. Only a couple of friends went to Delhi College of Engineering from my batch. So, and many of them went to IIT. So that's how things work. So you'll find out that even if you have charted your plan, which is extremely important, so please don't think I'm going to go planless, I'm not going to have any plans at all. You do have to have a plan, but the aberrations in the plans will take place as you go along through your life, and be accepting of those. So many things can happen to us, and we are all witnesses of that. Just ask your mom and dad what kind of things have changed in their lives over the years, and did they end up where they end up? If they ended up where they wanted to end up, they are extremely lucky, and maybe extremely hardworking as well. So one of the things which was talked about here was about the new world which we are seeing here. So I don't know how many of you have heard about the terms called diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to hear if anybody has heard those words. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Nobody has heard them here?
Equity we have heard in terms of share market.
Okay. That's a good one. So see, Dr. Kumar has more jokes than me. So I'm going to be second in line here. So what diversity, equity, inclusion has become a big force in the United States. And there are some good parts to it, there's some bad parts of it. So let me look at each of those things. And these are things which are required in engineering education. So we don't have as many women, for example, in engineering, and that might be true here also. We only get 15% of the women go to engineering. So if you think about that women and men, they are equal in number, right? So if you look at it from a perspective, and they come from all kinds of walks of life, whether they are wealthy, they're poor, they come from one state of Punjab, another comes from the state of Maharashtra, doesn't really matter. So they are equal in terms of their social status, their whatever status you might want to call. So in many ways, it should be about 50% men and 50% women, right? So there's a lot of push in the United States to bring more minorities into engineering, and we have had those kind of things in India also, where we have scheduled caste, scheduled tribe incentives being given to people so that those people who belong to those segments, segments will also prosper and see what's going on. I think there is still a lot of room in India, also in the United States, that we are not looking as much as at the socioeconomic level. And I know that you must have heard of anecdotal stories about a rickshawala's son going to IIT, right? But there are a lot of rickshawala's sons who don't even go to college. So those are the kind of things which I think engineering education has to look into, that how can we get people from all walks of life into engineering. And people might say that, hey, oh, they don't study, or this guy doesn't study, or this segment doesn't study, so why should they be in engineering? Well, then those opportunities have to be given right at the kindergarten level, not at the 12th grade level, where they may not be able to then pass a Delhi College of Engineering exam. You don't want them to fail. So those things have to happen right at the onset when they are being educated. And I've heard that there are some programs in India, especially in Tamil Nadu, where people from low socioeconomic classes sent to boarding schools. And that's how they get a good education there. So that's the diversity part. The equity part is, a lot of people think equity is equality, that you give everybody the same thing. And that's not what equity means. Equity means that you bring them to a level where they can succeed. So let's suppose if there's a person who's from a low socioeconomic class, but he has the intelligence to go to a Delhi College of Engineering, let's suppose, what is missing? Just the money. Nothing else is missing. So maybe provide them grants to be able to go to Delhi College of Engineering, because they're equally qualified to be able to come to institutions like Delhi College of Engineering or BITS Pilani or IITs. The last one is inclusion. The inclusion part, where it comes into play, is that let's suppose you get all these people into your company. So let's suppose in 2 years or 3 years you're graduating, you get into a company, and then you are going to give them a place to be in, right? So you say, okay, this person belongs to the northeast part of India, so they have a special seat assignment for them, or somebody's a Jain, so there's a minority segment there, so let's hire somebody from that segment. But the inclusion has to take place, because you cannot just simply say, hey, okay, hey, you come and work for us, and here's your cubicle, and you can start working. So you have to also include them, so that include them in the various things which they don't know of, and so that they will be able to succeed. I'll give you a okay. I'll give you a simple example. There is something called a hidden curriculum. A hidden curriculum exists in all colleges. And people might say, what's so hidden about the curriculum? They say, hey, you take 40 classes, you go to class, you attend them, and then you go ahead and then you graduate. But mind you, I come from a low socioeconomic class from Kashmir. And there was not a whole lot of guidance going on from family, whether it was my own family or whether it was from my relatives, because they were all going to college, but all had gone to college in Srinagar. Nobody knew how to apply to Pilani or Delhi College of Engineering and things like that. And this was pre-internet days. So when I'm talking about, so all the information which you're getting is through newspapers, mail, things like that, or just your friends, and you're asking them for guidance. So that's the hidden curriculum. So if your father or mother is an engineer, let's suppose, and you're at Delhi College of Engineering, they will tell you exactly what courses to take. They will tell you exactly where to go for your internships. But the person who's a rickshawala's son, he has no way of knowing that. So those are the kind of things which we have to think about when we talk about inclusion, that we don't just simply admit somebody because they are from a certain low segment, as you may call it, or some other segment which has been marginalized over the years, and then we let them be. But we also have to help them to be in the society. Now, people might say that, hey, how does it really matter? We should be all meritorious. It depends all on merit, that we should be able to be successful based on merit only. But what you'll find out is that the more diverse your company will be, the more diverse your engineering college will be, you will learn more. Imagine that if all the people in here were from Kashmir, what would you learn about Delhi or other places, because you are too busy studying? It's only because people are from all over the country are here, and I'm glad that Professor Kumar invited people outside of Delhi College of Engineering to come here. That itself shows the inclusion. That's an excellent example of inclusion. That people who may not have the opportunity of listening to me or whatever words I'm saying, that it affects them, maybe gives them a little bit of spark or a little bit of help to figure out life for themselves. So I don't want to take too much time. It's already 3 o'clock, so I have other things to talk about. So if you're not going to ask me questions, you'll have to listen to me.
Any questions so far?
I can certify you that I don't bite. Nobody has any questions?
Now, can I ask you a question, Professor Kao? After him.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Please.
So based on your life experience, how do you
What's your name?
Please introduce yourself.
Varun Kumar, I'm from Delhi Technology.
Varun Kumar. Okay, good.
So based on your life, how do you actually adapt with change?
How do you adapt to change? Just like a river. Just like a river. There's no other way to do it. So a river will go wherever it wants to go, right? So you just have to go along with it. Now, this might seem to be a little bit idiomatic, or it might seem to be some kind of a life's philosophy or something like that. It's not. Whatever is in front of you, you have to do it. It's as simple as that. Let me give you some example here. So when I went to Pilani, you can go and have a seat. When I went to Pilani, it was July 1976. So I'm dating here myself, not carbon dating, but dating myself. So July 1976, I went to Pilani. My uncle was here, my Mamaji was here, a professor in Delhi University. And he's the one who gave me the hidden curriculum guidance, guys. So So when you talk about hidden curriculum, where nobody knows anything, how to do it, so he was my main contact through letters, asking him how to apply to IIT and how to apply to BITS and things like that. So he was expecting a child at that time, so my mom came with me. My father couldn't come with me to Pilani because of some work. So my mom came to Delhi because my Mamaji's wife was expecting a child. So in order to help her after delivering the child, she was here. So I am in Pilani for 1 week. And you know that I'm from Kashmir. So that's like saying that I'm from the boondocks of India. Like I'm from the backward area of India at that time. And I didn't know calculus. So all the guys who are from Chandigarh, who are from Delhi, Bombay, Madras, Chennai now, they all knew calculus. So I'm crying on Saturday, half day, Saturday, I'm crying. And I'm saying, oh, I'm taking the bus. There used to be a bus, we should leave at 12 o'clock at night on every day. So I hop on the bus, it takes 5.5, 6 hours on the bus, and I get to Delhi in the morning. And as soon as I see my mom, I simply burst into tears. I said, I'm not going back. And she's a 6th grade pass. And the reason why she didn't get educated as much as she wanted to was because her mother developed tuberculosis when she was in the 6th grade. She's one of the wisest persons I've ever known in my life. And so she didn't say anything to me. She said, okay, I'm going to make the best food which you like, and you stay here till Sunday and try to go back, give it another week. And that was the medicine which my mom gave to me. So I go for another week, and that medicine has not worked. Next Saturday, I'm doing exactly the same thing I did the previous Saturday, guys. So I'm hopping onto the bus at 12 o'clock on Saturday, get to Delhi at 6 o'clock, ISBT, take a bus from there. You couldn't afford an auto in those days, guys. So I get to Model Town. That's where my Mamaji lived at that time. And there's nobody home because my Mamaji is next to the hospital bed with my Mamiji, and my mom is also there because she got a C-section. And I don't know what to do because there's nobody, there's no phone, there's no one to call, there's no cell phone, there's no internet, there's no WhatsApp. So I'm crying there on the footsteps of the house for about 4 or 5 hours. Keep in mind that those 4 or 5 hours look like days to me. And suddenly my mom comes, and as soon as she comes, I'm bursting into tears again. The whole neighborhood woke up that day from their afternoon nap, that what the heck is happening somewhere. And she said, okay, I'm going to make the best food you like, which was Matar Paneer. And so I ate it. And at the end, so what I had done is that as evidence, I had brought back the book of calculus by G.B. Thomas. I don't know whether you know the book by G.B. Thomas. Maybe there's a different author now. So the calculus book was a two-part series called Calculus by G.B. Thomas. And G.B. Thomas has passed away, but it's still a book which is prescribed in US. And I show her this book. She said, this book, I have to know all this book in 1 semester. I was lying. It was a 2-semester book. And she said, I have to learn this whole thing in 1 semester. Do you know what she told me in her 6th grade education pass, mother? She said, it's your life, not mine. That's all she had to say. So talk about life's challenges. You just go where the river goes. Okay, not when it is dry, because it's not going anywhere. I hope I've answered your question with this example. Yes?
So can I now raise the question with your permission?
Yes, please.
Now, in fact, your family is a perfect example of multicultural environment.
That's true. Yeah.
And you see, most of us are also trying to assimilate a multicultural environment in India as well. So how do you see the impact of multicultural environment on education and life thereafter?
That's a very loaded question. What do you want to ask? Like how to incorporate the multiculturalism in education?
What happens, I have seen in the US and in Europe as well,
Yeah.
whenever Indian students go to overseas for pursuing higher education, initially maybe for 6 months, they find a cultural shock.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So I wanted to ask my question in that perspective, that you see things are changing very fast, whether we want or whether we don't want. So how to cope up with multicultural environment and the fast changes that are taking place?
No, that's where the programs come into picture. So let's suppose at our university, we get a lot of people who are first generation in college. It means that their mom and dad didn't go to college. So they might be immigrants from South America, like Mexico. They might have come as farm workers. So you get first generation and you also get a lot of low socioeconomic people who might be from rural areas. All they have known their life is farming, and that's what their mom and dad did. There's a lot of farming. They might be rich. They might be wealthy because farming is not a low income producing occupation in US for most farmers. But they don't know anything about, hey, what it means to go to college and all stuff. That's why we have programs for these particular groups. They're separate clubs, there's separate advising for them. So that's how you are able to get over the culture shock, you're able to get over the homesickness. So in Pilani, if there was an advisor, we didn't have any advisors. You signed up for 4 classes, 5 classes. First semester, that was the advising, that's it. If there was an advisor, I would have gone to him or her and said, hey, I'm feeling homesick, what should I do? And if she would have said, hey, everybody feels like that, maybe it would have worked. Maybe it would not have worked, but at least that possibility would have been there. So I think that is a part of the inclusion. So you might bring equity and diversity by admitting people from different parts of India, from different socioeconomic levels, but then there should be some programs which should help them to assimilate.
And you see, are you going to ask the question? In fact, my last question, because I have seen Professor Kaur with close quarter, can you just take 2 or 3 minutes to brief them about Tinker's or such kind of technology which you are using in the class, like to reply immediately to the question raised by you, because that we are not following unfortunately in our class.
Okay, you're talking about people when you're teaching a class?
Yeah.
So I was going to talk about that, but because of the limited time, so one of the things which I was going to talk about, the first thing which I was going to talk about was active learning. So what active learning is, where you are engaging the student. So when I went to Pilani, or even when I went to Clemson, the professor would talk for 50 minutes, and sometimes he would say, do you have any questions? That's the worst question to ask. So if you are a professor, please don't ask the question that, hey, do you have any questions? A good example, now people say, okay, hey, that's great and nice that you're saying, don't ask, hey, what question do you have? Do you have any questions? You could say, hey, what question would you ask if you had to? That itself opens up a space for the student to say, hey, I have one question. So far as technology is concerned, these are the technologies which I use in my classroom, and maybe those are some of the reasons why they are successful. One of them is which I talked about, the YouTube lectures, for example, we have. They are curated, meaning that they are not 50-minute lectures and somebody goes and just watches 50 minutes, and that way the student doesn't know where to start, where to end. They may have only a question about the theory, they may only have the question about the example, or they might want to review something. So what we are doing here is that we are curating these videos. They are not more than 10 minutes each. So you may have one subject matter which might last 100 minutes, 2 class lectures or so, but they'll be curated within 10-minute videos so that the student can directly go and look at those 10-minute videos and say, okay, now I understand what this is all about. But we're not stopping there. We're also having textbook contents free of charge to anybody in the world. So there's a numerical methods textbook which anybody can look at. So if somebody is more interested in looking at the text part of it as opposed to a video lecture, because some people get annoyed by a video lecture, they say, hey, kitab se mujhe acha lagta hai, so let me just read the textbook. So they just go and read the textbook. We also have simulations, so people don't understand how a numerical method works. We say, okay, let's go and simulate the numerical method and see how it all works out. So you give these multiple ways of people looking at a particular topic. And something is going to click, right? So if you give a kid one toy, phank dega, he will just throw it away and say, I don't like it. But if you give him or her 5 different toys, maybe they will look like one of them. And people say, oh, I always like, this is a big thing amongst engineering students. I always like to see things hands-on. or I want to see something show and tell in the class, then I'll understand. Somebody else says, hey, I understand when I hear things. And somebody else says, I like things when I see it in a video. And somebody else says, hey, I only like things which are written. Yes, you may have that preference, but that's not necessarily true. It has been shown time and again that if you lean towards the person's preference, let's suppose there are 50 students in my class and I say, hey, what is your style of learning? And somebody says video, somebody says text, and each of them I give this prescription. What's going to happen is that no change is going to take place in terms of your performance. It has been found time and again. And also, when you're going to go work, let's suppose you are one of those kinesthetic learners where you learn hands-on. When you're going to go into a company on the first day of your work, you're not going to tell your boss, hey, what the heck is this? You're showing me this manual, and you ask me to read it. I'm not a reader. I like things hands-on, so you have to spend all day with me to show me hands-on what's in the manual. Will he or she be willing to do that for you? Most probably you get fired on that day. So going back to Professor Kumar's question, one of the things which I use, which is very simple to use, free to use, and can only take 5 minutes of your lecture every time, is to use clickers. And you don't have to buy clickers anymore. So 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you had to buy these devices. Like in Kaun Banega Crorepati, you have these devices which are given to the audience when they do audience poll. You don't have to do any of those. Those can be just simply done by using your cell phone, which you have in your hands. So one of the free ones, which I used during COVID time, was called Microsoft Forms. First, the perspective of coming to US is real. Please do come to US if you want to get a postgraduate degree. I'm not here to recruit, but what I'm trying to say is that you will get a different perspective, not only of education, but also of culture. And if you come back, or when you come back, you'll be able to bring that with you. I've seen many successful people who went to graduate school with me in Clemson, and about maybe 6 or 7 went back to India right away, right after. At that time, nobody used to go back. And they are very successful entrepreneurs and industrialists. And mostly because of their education here in India, from IITs they were, and also what they learned in Clemson. Going back to your question, you got to do what you want to do. There's nothing to say. It's your life, right? Just like as my mom said, it's your life. She had no way of knowing whether engineering was the best thing for me. My dad wanted me to be a doctor. I said, मैं बेहोश हो जाऊंगा just by the sight of the blood. So please don't put me in doctory and things like that. We already got one doctor in the family. My sister became a doctor before me, a few years before me. So you got to do what you want to do. Now, people will always tell you, hey, do what you love to do, right? I like to count money. Let's suppose. I'm not going to become a bank teller. So please don't, this is a big myth which people will tell you, do what you love to do. No. You got to do what you're good at. That's the main focus, not what you love to do. So, because I can want to love to be a cricketer and be like Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli or somebody else, but I know that I'll be bowled on the first, or I might get hurt before I even get bowled out. So you got to do what you want to do, and you have to be good at it. And the only way to be good at anything is through deliberate practice. A lot of people say, oh, bas padhai karo, revise karo, right? Beta, tum revise karo, main chai banati hu. That was a common phrase when I was growing up, right? Because they want you to study 24 hours a day, as if we have no life, as we are young twice or thrice in life. That's not true. So if you think you are a mechanical engineering student, right? And you want to do mechanical engineering, right? That's your passion, right? You love to do it. You just stay with it. It's as simple as that. But what I would like you to do is to be open to other things. So what I mean to say is that, let's suppose we have artificial intelligence, machine learning. This is being used in mechanical engineering also. We have 3 professors in my own department out of 20 who are using artificial learning and machine intelligence in mechanical engineering. So you might say, hey, what kind of fields are those? Maintenance, aircraft maintenance, so that they can preconceive that, hey, when should the aircraft be maintained, as opposed to saying, hey, every 3 months I'm going to start tightening some bolts and things like that. Every aircraft is different. Every aircraft goes through different destinations, cold, hot, things like that. So based on that, they're developing those maintenance rules for aircrafts. Another person is working in manufacturing, trying to see that how we can have what's called additive manufacturing. You must have heard of it, right? So where you are doing 3D printing. Okay, so doing 3D printing, how can that be improved by artificial intelligence based on if you made one product, right, and it turns out to be not good, you learn from that product to make the next product to be good. It's called, it's a new terminology called twin design, which some of you might have heard about it, where they continuously keep on improving a design based on the failures and successes you have had before with the product. So you can still bring that computer science part to it. So if you want to, and if you, then you say, okay, I don't want to do any mechanical engineering, I just want to do computer science part of it, go for it. So when I graduated from Pilani, I worked for Ford Escort tractors up in Faridabad for a full year because I was very much Mera Hindustan Mahan at that time. But the kind of corruption I saw, even in a private company, please don't say that anybody here to escorts people, right? Yeah, so this is between you and me. Nobody's recording anything. And even in a private company, I saw corruption. I saw people playing favorites and things like that. I was just there for a year. I said, this is not for me. Because my father was a very honest man, and I could see the struggles he went through. I said, I'm not going to stay here. And that's the only reason why I went to US, not for further studies or milk and honey, things like that. So you just, and so right before I was going to leave for US, I got a job with TCS. And what would I have been doing now if I had got a job with TCS? I would have been just programming. Because I was very much leaning towards programming. And now if you see, I'm teaching a course in numerical methods. It's all about using programming to do engineering problems. So all my research before I got into engineering education about 20 years ago was all about writing programs to make better materials. So I hope I have answered your question. Please don't say yes if I have not answered your question. Yeah, that's a very important part of learning. Very important part of learning. So another thing which I want to say, which is not related to what you were saying, is that we need to not only, when I ask people that, hey, okay, you have done this exam, and what people do is, or even when I was a student, I would look at, 70 number aa gaya, I got only 70 here, where did I lose the 30, right? That's all you're looking at. You're not looking at, hey, where did I gain those 70, right? And also, when you're looking at those 30 points, you're also saying, kya yaar, ye, this teacher is no good, I was doing it right, I just made a mistake of negative and positive, took off 10 points off, kya battemazi hai ye, and all kinds of stuff, and you get a 70, you don't even think about it till the next test, right? So one of the things which I do with my students is, because the students are same everywhere, guys. Because you guys are young, and now with internet being everywhere, I think they think and feel the same way in many ways. It was not the case when I was growing up. So they'll also come and say, Dr. Kaur, why did you take 10 points off here, 5 points off here? What the heck is going on? I studied hard and all this stuff. So I said, so what I do is I do an exam wrapper. What I say is, do all the questions which you got wrong, do them again. Now, you might say they might cheat from another student because they're taking it home, they're not doing it in the class. But I also ask them to write a 100-word paragraph on why do you think you did something wrong in that particular question, right? Why do you think you did it right when you repeated the question? And how are you going to use this to do better in the future? Those 3 questions they have to answer in 100 words or more. They can write a whole novel about it, but at least 100 words. And you'll be surprised that these small exercises given to the students, they not only appreciate it, but it helps them to figure it out. I have so many students who come to the end of the class and say, Dr. Kaur, I know that you teach the same way as everybody else, but these small things like using clickers in the class and asking us about DojaCat and then giving us these exam wrappers, as they call it, these helped us quite a bit, not only for my class, but for other classes as well. So that was a corollary of what you were saying. So I understand what you are saying is that in olden times, you only had a few, if it was a strain gauge, you had a strain gauge meter or a Wheatstone bridge, and you would measure strain in mechanical engineering. And if a student knew that, that would be great. but now you have IoT products, you have other ways of measuring strains. So what do we teach out of those? What I found best for the students is that you just expose them to one thing or a few things, because time is limited in a semester. You only expose them a few things, which you think will allow them to then transfer that knowledge to other things. So it's subject matter based. So I can give you an example for numerical methods. So what I do for a project is that we do a in-class project. It's a very simple project. We just take an aluminum cylinder, we put it into some dry ice and alcohol mixture, or sometimes just iced water, and then we measure temperature versus time data. And I've had my own professors from my own country, they say, what is it? This is a physics experiment from 8th grade. What are you doing with that? I said, no, I'm not asking them to just look at what the temperature versus time curve is, but we do all kinds of analysis. We do regression, we do differentiation, we do integration. All those things are being brought up through that exercise. So when they are looking at, so because this is going to be a big challenge to all these students here, you are going to get massive amounts of data. We're not talking about computer science type of data, mechanical engineering data. If you do a stress strain test now, you get thousands of points. In my time, if you got 7 points, we're happy. Hey, at least we don't have to repeat the experiment again. So you will have to figure out how you're going to have to deal with data. And that's something which has to be taught in every course. So whether it is instrumentation, whether it is data, that has to become an integral part of every course. Now, I'm not saying that you have to revamp every course, but especially at the 3rd year and 4th year level, those things have to creep in. So I have a couple of students who are, one is in Tesla, one is in Ford, and both of them said that, hey, and they're working labs inside these two companies. And what they say is that, hey, we get lots of data. Sometimes we have to regress the data. Sometimes we have to interpolate the data. Sometimes I have to integrate the data. And this numerical methods course is coming in handy for them to do that. But the other part of the data part is modeling part, which is extremely important. Because let's suppose somebody gives you a physical problem, like of a dam. Water is stored in a dam, it's flowing down, right? Anybody can see that. But how to model that problem as accurately as possible, that's also a challenge. And that's some of the skills which we can teach our students. We won't teach them everything. And the thing which I think maybe in India it has changed now, but in Pilani we had a US type of education, so I'm blessed that we had that. There's a lot of emphasis on humanities. Is that true here in Delhi College of Engineering also?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So that's extremely good. So you should have a lot of emphasis on humanities and English, because the 4 things which come to the top, in not just in India, not just in US, but in India and other developed countries, is that they say problem solving, collaboration, I think I forgot the other 2, problem solving, collaboration, communications, oral and written communication, that's right. So if the person is not able to communicate written and orally well, even if he or she is a good engineer, it doesn't do any good. So in USF, there are several courses now which require a certain amount of communication part as part of the grade. So they may, like in probability statistics, we ask them, hey, let's suppose you're looking at data. There's fake data everywhere, right? Like the other day, it was that, hey, who's the 400-meter runner in Commonwealth Games from India? Nobody knows. The woman? Huh? Hema Das, yeah. So they say Hema Das has won the gold in 400 meters. Did you guys read that news? So it was on Twitter all over, and even the local channels took it, hey, Hema Das has won the gold medal in India. But the 400-meter final has not even been run yet. So we are trying to teach them in probability statistics class that, hey, how do you decipher whether it is fake data, whether it's good data? How do you make sure that you verify the data? And that's going to become extremely important, because a lot of people here must be saying, I'm wasting my 4 years because everything's on Google, right? Isn't everything on Google? Huh? I'm becoming like a guru here asking you to say, isn't it? But even if you're going to Google, you got to know what to Google, right? And for that, you got to have that knowledge behind it. So please don't think that what you're doing here is not as fruitful as you might have thought 20 years ago. The base knowledge is extremely important. If you think about your life and you have gotten an innovative idea at any point in your life, think about where did you get it? Let me ask you, if you got a bright idea, where were you? Anybody wants to volunteer? Anyone? Don't tell me that you never had a bright idea. Yes. Past experience. But what were you doing at that time, the time when you got that idea?
So I was like struggling with that, and I was trying to figure out the minimum what I could do to easily come out with it.
Yeah. So you can very well see that, what did you say was Varun? What is your name? Vaipul. Okay, Vaipul. So he's right there. So from his past experience, something which was already stored in his memory, he was able to figure out what the solution is. So please don't think everything can be Googled. The only thing which Google has done is that when I'm taking my Calculus 1 class, I really don't need to solve 1,000 integrals, guys. If I solve only 500 integrals, I'm okay. Nobody out there in the company is going to say, how many integrals have you solved? And if you say 500, no job. Nobody's going to say that to you. You'll be surprised. People go into my numerical methods class, and I ask them a very simple question about, I show a curve, and I tell them, hey, can you tell me what the area under the curve is? What is the integral of this function from A to B? People think that the area under the x-axis is negative, and the area above the x-axis is positive. Do you think that's true? Simple question. You're drawing a curve, and somebody tells you to integrate from one point to another. Is the area above the x-axis positive and the area below the x-axis negative? No. What is it then? The opposite. Everybody taking calculus, integral calculus here, right? Actually, it depends on which way you are integrating, whether you integrate from left to right or right to left. And 1/3 of my students get that question wrong. What use is 1,000 integrals being solved in their 4-credit-hour integral calculus class if they cannot answer a simple question like that? So always, whenever you're taking a course, think about the fundamentals you want to know, not necessarily, hey, can you do the most difficult problem in the class? This is the problem of your depression, of most of you. Some people are really clinically depressed. I'm not talking about those people. They need help. But if you are finding out that you are doing things or you're not feeling good about yourself for a long time, try the experiment. You don't have to put it in Yamuna. What you have to do simply is to say, use the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique is from Italy. And the way it works is as follows. You don't have any distractions on your desk for about 20, 25 minutes. Okay, put this on silent. As simple as that. Nobody's going to die, guys, because you didn't pick up the phone. But if somebody is entirely dependent on you because, hey, you are their call, yeah, keep it on, and don't try this experiment at night when people might be out. So just do it in the day, 25 minutes. It's a challenge to you guys. And you can write to me and say, hey, did this challenge work? 25 minutes, you have no distractions, no computer, nothing, and you're reading a textbook. I can guarantee you that many of you won't be able to do it. But if you are able to do it little by little, it's just like if you ask anybody who is participating in the Commonwealth Games, they didn't start running 400 meters on the first day they tried, right? 1 meter, 2 meters. So do it for 10 minutes, do it for 20 minutes next day. I think your depression might get cured. I hope, I'm giving a too simplistic a solution. Yeah, it is a big problem, yeah. Because I don't think students nowadays have to struggle like we had to in terms of resources. No, I got a nephew's son who, whenever he sees a phone or hears the ring, everything loses focus. It's almost like Jurassic Park. You've seen those Jurassic Park movies where the dinosaur hears even the slightest sound and he's after you? He's just like that. So I spent 4 days with him just at Noida, and I don't know whether I'm looking forward to spending another day with him on Saturday when I leave, because he's rambunctious because of that. I hope that it's just a phase.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, sir. It is rightly said, knowledge is the first step to wisdom, and sharing it with others is the first step to humanity. Getting an opportunity to learn from you is certainly a moment of distinct honor for all of us. Once again, on behalf of everyone present in this session, I thank you for enlightening us with your words of wisdom. Can we once again stand up and give a huge round of applause for Professor Kao? I would like to request Professor Naveen Kumar to kindly thank Professor Avtar Kao on the stage, please. Thanks.
Now, I did an unpleasant job of depriving Professor Kao interacting with you, because what I have learned from him, I'm just going to replicate. He always advised me not to teach more than 40 minutes in the class, because the longer you drag lecture in the classroom, more will be the disillusioned audience, and that was the reason I wanted that Professor Kao should finish his lecture as early as possible. This is first learning which I have learned from Professor Kao. And second thing which I wanted to share as a stakeholder in education industry, that always strive for fundamentals. Fundamentals are the most important, and I am sharing my own experience with you. I faced UPSC 3 times for the post of lecturer, then the post of assistant professor, and then the post of professor, all 3 times, and it just went for 10 minutes. And they were only asking fundamentals, nothing more than fundamentals. You see, if you are a mechanical engineer, they can ask you first law of thermodynamics. They can ask you that if there is a cantilever, what will be the bending moment or shear force diagram. So remember always very fundamental thing in your mind. If you are not good in basics, you cannot do anything. This is the second takeaway from today's lecture from Professor Kao, and with all my interaction with Professor Kao in last 10 years. So in fact, I will just invite 2 of you to just share your feedback for 2 minutes, 1 person each. So would someone volunteer? 1 person each. Vaibhav, please come. Just 1 minute. Please go ahead.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Hope we had an interactive session, and the theme was quite apt. And I think no one better than Kao sir could have explained us, because his own journey and his own ways of explaining the teaching methodologies have really inspired students. I hope that now we'll have a new perception when we'll be exposed to new methodologies of teaching, because it's very important that, as sir has also mentioned, that adapting to a change is like a flowing river. So we all should also acknowledge and also be blessed with what resources we have and make best use of it. Because until and unless we appreciate the things we have, we cannot accept or we cannot be good at bringing out new horizons to our learning. So I really thank sir from my bottom of my heart, and I hope that we will have a fruitful session in upcoming years also. And I really thank you had spared time for it, and we really enjoyed it. I hope it was the same for you all. Thank you.
1 more person, please. 1 more person. Gupta.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you had an interactive session. I really thank Professor Kao from the bottom of my heart for this interactive session. And I really learned 3 important things today that Professor Kao truly stated, that is diversity, equity, and inclusions that do follow in everyday's life. And one thought that I would like to share with all of you that I studied somewhere and that applied today's interactive session, that is that you cannot defeat a current by your power. You have to submit to its power and use its power as your own. So you have to change to that adaptability and use it as your own. And that is one of the great learnings that I have learned today from Professor Kao. And I thank you, sir, for your presence. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just last week, we started with a very good series of programs, and that program was scheduled with 2 interactive sessions. On that day, Professor Avatar Kao was to be here, and Professor Rajiv Dubey was also there. And both the themes of both the interactive sessions were very interesting, very important, very upcoming, and very different also, you can say. So somehow Professor Avatar Kao could not come on that day, and I think it was good in some way, because sometimes we are having 2-3 celebrations, some party kind of things where we have to enjoy and we have to opt for one. So it was separated so we could enjoy both the sessions very well. And on that day it was about the robotics, how we can improvise our machines, mechanisms, functionalities and all. And today we talked about, Professor Avatar Kao focused on the education. Its theme was education. So that is the main tool of transformation for human being. So we are dealing with human being and with machinery also as a mechanical engineering people. And it is very good upcoming thing that I heard, and we also can realize that the subjects of humanities and how much importance is there, because those systems, machines and all, it is making its presence so much in our life. So we are losing our private space, you can say. So that also we have to protect, and it is possible just by giving due respect and importance to those things which belong to field of humanities, language, communication and all. So I'll be very thankful, sir, for this session. It was interactive, and it might be good, as you suggested, you don't make the session more than 40 minutes, but it was not sufficient for us, sir. It was too long, and not even one day. It should be of many days, at least 1 week. So somehow, but I'll be thankful that at least out of your valuable time, you give this much time and visit here. So we will be in touch. So there is technical medium is there by which we can remain in touch with sir. And I will be thankful to this IMAKI for being partner and supporting this program. I'll be thankful to D2 administration. Professor Madhusudan Singh was there, Professor Madam Indu is here. So time to time, regular programs are there, and we are getting continuous support from the administration. I'll be thankful to the eminent guests, faculties, research scholars, students, and volunteers. They have given a great effort for organizing this program and bringing success to this program. And once again, thanks to you all. And one more thing, the Professor Naveen Kumar has been master of organizing programs. He has been organizing programs in a very grand way. Even the small program is very grand.